Hey, it's Jack, the one and only, sharing the moments I lived through and the story I have learned from others. There's a difference between not knowing what to do and knowing exactly what to do but choosing not to. This episode is about the second one. This isn't a proud story. It's not dramatic. It's not explosive. It's quiet. And that's why it stays with me. The situation didn't appear suddenly. It built up slowly. Small misalignment, unclear expectations, subtle tensions. Nothing catastrophic, but I saw it. I saw the direction it was heading, and I knew a conversation needed to happen. Inside me, there were two voices. One said, "You should speak up now." The other said, "Maybe it will resolve itself." The second voice was calmer, less risky, more comfortable. So I listened to it. I told myself I didn't want to overreact. I didn't want to create unnecessary tension. I didn't want to appear controlling. I didn't want to step outside my role. All reasonable reasons, but beneath them was fear. Fear of conflict, fear of being wrong, fear of carrying more responsibility. The opportunity to speak came and went. The meeting ended. The topic moved on. The discomfort remained, and I did nothing. A few days later, the things I sensed surfaced more clearly. Misunderstanding widened, assumptions hardened, frustration grew. Nothing dramatic, just worse. And this time, it was heavier. When I finally spoke, it wasn't preventative. It was reactive. The tone was different. The space was tighter. The room felt less safe. And I knew I had waited too long. No one blamed me. No one said I fear. But I feel it. That quiet guilt of knowing you had a chance to reduce damage and you didn't take it. That feeling stays. That moment reshaped something inside me. Leadership isn't only about stepping in when chaos explodes. It's about stepping in when things are still subtle, before tension solidifies, and I miss that window. Failure is visible. Avoidance is invincible. No one tracks it. No one measures it. But internally, you know, and knowing changes you. This wasn't the first time I hesitated, but it was the first time I could not ignore the cost. I realized something uncomfortable, something I confused patience with avoidance. Sometimes I label fear as neutrality. That awareness hurts. Eventually, I had the hard conversation. It wasn't explosive. It was quiet, measured, honest. But I keep thinking how different it would have been if I had spoken earlier. That thought lingered. After that experience, responsibility felt different, heavier but clearer. I could no longer pretend that silence was neutral. Silence is a choice, and sometimes it shapes outcomes more than words do. After that situation settled, no one came to me and said, "You should have handled that earlier." There was no confrontation. But internally, I knew. I replayed the moment in my head. The opening I had, the sentences I could have said, the question I could have asked. And I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't unprepared. I was unwilling. There's a cost to delay courageous. It doesn't explode immediately. It accumulates. Trust becomes slightly thinner. Clarity becomes slightly delayed. Energy gets redirected to fixing what could have been prevented. And sometimes that cost is invisible to everyone else except you. I used to think leadership means big decisions, clear authority, visible directions. But that experience taught me leadership often looks like interrupting something small before it grows. It looks like the comfort in the early stage. It looks like risking tension before tension risks you. The truth is, I hesitated because I didn't want to carry more. Speaking up means stepping into responsibility. Responsibility means more weight, more expectations. And part of me wanted to stay just outside of that. Close enough to influence, far enough to avoid blame. That middle ground feels safer. But it wasn't leadership. When I look deeper, this wasn't just about that one moment. I had a pattern. If something was unclear, but not yet urgent, I wait. If something felt uncomfortable, but manageable, I postpone. I label it patience, but sometimes it was avoidance. That distinction changed me. After that experience, I didn't suddenly become bold. I didn't transform overnight. But I became more alert to early discomfort. When I sense misalignment, I pay attention. Not aggressively, just consciously. I stopped assuming things would settle themselves. Responsibility now feels heavier but cleaner. Heavier because I no longer ignore what I sense. Cleaner because when I speak early, I don't carry that quiet guilt later. There's something powerful about addressing tension before it solidifies. This wasn't a lesson I wanted. It would have been easier to learn through someone else's mistake. But learning through your own hesitation hits deeper and it stays. This story matters because avoidance is subtle. It hides behind politeness, behind neutrality, behind timing, and sometimes what we fail to do reveals more about us than what we accomplish. This wasn't a story about making a huge mistake. It was about recognizing how hesitation shapes outcomes. Sometimes leadership isn't tested when things explode. It's tested in the quiet moment when you feel something is off and you decide whether to act. If you have been following this episode and you want to continue exploring moments like this with me, you can follow the channel. I'm documenting this journey one story at a time. I will see you in episode 9. Bye!